Me?
Yeah, I can see that some hill sort of thing in your background.
Let me show you.
Oh, wow.
That's where I am.
Nice, nice, nice. How are you?
Good, man. So nice to see you. So nice to see
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah, yeah. I can see that some
I
hill
Setu.
sort of thing in your background.
Let me show you.
Setu is here.
Hi, Setu. How are you? Oh, hi.
Nice. How are you?
I'm good. So nice to see you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I Setu. Setu is here.
Hi, Setu. How are you? Oh, hi. I'm good. So nice to see you.
Hi. Yeah.
I got everybody on mute. We are live on YouTube, and from there it's going on Facebook. So today we have Mr. Baoni here, and along with the hosting by Anuj. Baoni, can you go out of your balcony and show where Anuj is sitting? This is like a special session where the host is also at the premises of the speaker. In that balcony is Anuj. It's like a fully interactive session. Now we're flying our host down to interview people at their location. So Bounty was a junior of mine, though the gray hair says otherwise. But he's one of those juniors, that Gulu's sketching skills were passed on to Bose, and then Bose passed on his skills of doing automobiles with those little highlights to Bounty, and Bounty was part of the line. So today we're going to have Anuj. I'm going to spotlight him, and Anuj and Bounty, if you can take off the audio mute. And Anuj, if you can unravel the story of Bounty.
Yeah, thank you, Sajid. Baoni, I mean, I remember once I was walking around and this Baoni was this cute guy, good looking, nice hair. And then he's talking in the middle of night with MP Ranjan, and there's this palki uh, design that he was doing, the mobile that he was doing, and itna Angrezi मैं तो side से निकल लिया. मैंने कहा this is something I can't because there was too much product design happening there. But somehow we interacted, and at the end of the first year, he decided to ask me if I can be his roommate. Matlab, and also we got the room together because I was organizing the distribution of rooms. So I got the room next to him. But Shwetab Chandra Verma was also his batch, and he was more persuasive. No, he said, "Now you going to stay." Like he needed some bakra. No, so I don't know why Baoni wanted to pick me up to stay next to him, like a undergrad, postgrad, 2 years junior. Suddenly, too much love happening for me. But Shweta was more persuasive. No, tu mere saath aayega. So I went and lived with him. But as the destiny had to happen, there was a raid and hostel, and we were thrown out. Six people were thrown out, and out of which me and Bauni decided to then live together. And we became more closer. We became friends, and we started hanging around. So, I mean, I have pretty much been to Bauni's every office and every house and. शादी नहीं अटेंड की मैंने बावनी की, बट उसके अलावा मैंने सारे बावनी की पुणे, but it's my favorite city. I keep meeting him. He's a fantastic guy. He's picked up work from product design to going more and more towards more emotional and human work that he wants to do, and it's really nice to see that change in his life. So I would like to open the stage to Bauni and let him tell and his story from the start, of course, because it's quite an interesting background he has, quite illustrational in the sense that his family has been for many generations, kuch 30-40 generations say, has been court painters for Reva kings and family. And there's this huge lineage, and this man then decided to not be there and get into design. So, of course, this whole exciting childhood where he grew around paintings, and that too court painting, not like any other, like very detailed out, very lively, very specific, to being this guy who imagines and changes the form, not just keeps it the same way. So Bhavni, let's hear from you where you started your journey. Where were you born finally? But before that, Bhavni, you have to tell us something that जो भी बोलोगे सच के सिवा कुछ नहीं बोलोगे.
हाँ अनुज, मैं जो भी बोलूँगा सच के सिवा कुछ नहीं बोलूँगा.
Okay, Buns, go tell us where were you born? Why?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Anuj. Thanks, guys. I mean, like Setu, hi, how are you? Everyone. So, yeah, I was born in Riva. Actually, it's a border town. It's a kingly state in the state of Madhya Pradesh. I was born to a family of 38 generations of miniature Rajput artists. Should I start my presentation? Actually,
Yep.
Yeah. So this is the main gate, obviously main gate Darbar. So I thought I'd pick out the best, and in a way, one of the most influential pictures for me, because I think this place really changed me completely as a person. I was a very different person before NID and after NID, and I think one of the key influences I've had, is Ranjan. I think all of us can say that. So yeah, but getting on. My family is basically like Anuj said. I grew up to this. This is not my painting. This is my dad's painting. Okay. So I grew up to an artist family, and everywhere around me was only art. My grandfather, the stories were of art, the books were of art. I was born in Riva, and when I was around 7 months old, my parents, my dad decided to shift from his family and move to Darjeeling, where he took up the job of a teacher, okay, an art teacher. Okay.
Mauri, there's something in front of your camera.
Oh. Okay. So yeah, can you guys see now?
All good.
Okay. So I think I don't remember Riva at all. Okay, except the stories from my dad and my cousins and stuff like that. But yeah, so this is my granddad and my grandmom, and this is a sculpture. So my granddad's actually a very big influence in my entire family. We're all a family of artists, and he was this breakaway guy who ran away from home and went to act in Bombay, and he actually did a film, one of India's silent films called Harishchandra. He didn't want to do art, but because they were traditionally doing art and the king's court, and we were the court artists apparently, and so this is some of my granddad's work. This is porcelain paintings. They used to do very detailed portraits, of Maharanis and the kings. And we've apparently done this for 34 generations, and this was this sort of constant thing in my house, this is the other influence I've had a lot. I mean, after my granddad, I think my dad, and he's had a great influence in my life, in the sense he is an artist, but I think he's a very, very creative person. And I was a big fan of his as a kid, because I'd heard stories of him. He'd won the national award for some work of his. He was very good friends with Tenzing Norgay, I was like, as a kid, you heard of a person who's climbed Mount Everest, and, he comes home, and, so I grew up to this. Okay. And I grew up to this sort of bunch of teachers in St. Paul's, where I was, they were a great bunch, very interesting sort of upbringing, very, I would say, a British sort of upbringing. That sort of, I was fortunate because I was a day scholar, but my dad taught in the same school, so I got to study there. But otherwise, it was extremely sort of privileged people who got to study there. And it's a sort of, but this is my dad's work actually. He went and studied in Shantiniketan. My granddad, so he does Rajput miniatures. Okay, and he also sort of studied under Abhinendranath Tagore, and I mean, My granddad was taught by Raja Ravi Verma, and so that is very strong art, this thing. And as a kid, I began to sort of develop this dislike towards art. Seeing all of this, I wanted to do something completely different. I didn't want to get into anything like this because, my dad would be in his room for days, just doing the veins of the leaves of these paintings, you know and then there was this wash painting. So he had these really amazing techniques. This is a watercolor, a watercolor wash painting, which very few people know this style, you know. And one of the things that my dad is a purist. He actually does art for art's sake. He never really tried to sell his paintings, but this is some of his sculpture work, which is in the ministry and commissioned portraits. And otherwise, he was mainly just a teacher, a very simple man, but this is some of his work, and this is what I grew up seeing. And then the other sort of most influential person in my life is my mom. She comes from a very, very small village in UP, and my granddad and her, this is my granddad out here, and that's my mom just below him. And she got married to my dad at the age of 17, okay, because it was a sort of a funny thing. Um, so my granddad had actually gone to ask for my eldest Masi's hand. You're on mute, huh? But I can hear you from here.
So that reminds me that you were also like getting married at a certain age. 10-11 साल में तुम्हारा कुछ शादी वादी रिश्ता विश्ता तय हो गया था ना, वो क्या हुआ था?
वो राजपूतों में वो बचपन में शादी तय कर देते हैं ना. So one day my granddad, he calls up my dad and he's like, अरे उसकी शादी ये वो. I psyched out a bit, but yeah, I mean, I just let that thing be. I don't want to get there. Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, it is that sort of a thing. So very traditional family, and my mom's from this very small village, and her dad was a lawyer, barrister there, and that's her family. But she, instead of her eldest sister, went running to my granddad, showed him some paintings, and he got very impressed, and he said, I want my youngest son to get married to her. Okay, and there goes. So my mom got married. And that's a very favorite photograph of my mom and dad. I made them pose. This was the first time my dad let me use a camera, So I made them pose. And that's a batik sari done by my mom. Actually, she's a student of my dad's. And he sort of apprenticed her and he sort of taught her everything he knew. And both of them were art artists. And my mom got into batik. Okay. And that's me as a kid. Okay. That's my Masi, who my dad was supposed to get married to. So they have this constant tussle, now she's no more, but yeah, my mom, so that's a sari that my mom has made herself in silk, in batik. So, this is the photograph of that sari, so I grew up to this. And, as a kid, I was the youngest sibling. I have an elder brother and an elder sister. And this is some of her work. And both my parents, they taught me some very interesting things about, so like batik, everyone looks out for wax, but my dad would always be like, for the cracks of the wax. But my dad would be like, no, you can't get cracks in the batik, you can only get cracks where you want them to come, so that sort of extreme level of precision and detailing. And, and the funny thing was when I used to be doing a lot of the waxing and this and that. And I used to hate that job. I used to be cleaning my dad's palettes. He used to be like, make sure that this color goes back into that color's cap. I don't want the colors changed. So, that's what I grew up. This is my brother and sister. I'm like, and these are my cousins. So I grew up in Kanpur and, other places as well. Delhi, a lot of MP and UP, and, used to roam around. A lot of very interesting sort of experiences only in the winter. Okay. And this is my school. I was very privileged to study here. My dad, all thanks to him, we woke up to this few times in a year, not many times. It was mostly very cloudy. Darjeeling weather is quite erratic. I think Dhij would know that. But yeah, Dhiraj's school used to come. We used to have a lot of inter-school sports. So yeah, and it's a beautiful place. It sort of influenced all my childhood. In fact, till today, it's sort of influencing me. I grew up to all religions. I used to go to church for 12 years every Sunday, you know, and I had a Buddhist monastery right next to my house, and I used to love going there and playing with the little monks and eating their food, and they make some amazing food, you know. This is my dormitory. So I sort of grew up in this very Harry Potter, British sort of this thing. I was very privileged, but I also learned some very important lessons about, and I was a very good student also, very much in science, so this was, so I got very focused at this time, because I was growing up with a lot of privileged children. My dad, obviously a middle class teacher, so whether you like it or not, in boarding schools, you get that sort of prejudices and those kind of things. But I was a focused student. I did well in studies. Some subjects I did really badly, but the ones I liked, I really did well. You know, this is my batch in school. We had a reunion 2015, so we were all there, and great bunch of people. We're chuddy buddies. We've literally grown up together.
You look quite fit in this group, though. I mean,
yeah,
that's nice. Yeah. You look young.
Yeah. This guy, the fattest guy, he was our fastest runner in school. He at one time, one of my teachers, we clocked him. There was those manual clocks, and he's surprised, and he's like, "Hey, you broke the world record." Okay, but yeah, he is pretty fast. Now he's a investment banker in Bombay. Which sort of he's really this thing. And then
so how did you get into white? Who told you? I mean, it must be easy to know about NIT because you were. But how did that go? How did that go with your father? You wanted to join?
It's a very funny thing, actually. I didn't want to do an ID. Okay, and I was very hell bent on engineering and IIT, and my brother was one of my biggest influences. Again, I wanted to be like Captain Kirk, and that kind of. I was into quantum physics and stuff like that. I wanted to get into IIT. My dream was to go to Princeton and do applied mathematics and theoretical physics. But then my dad one day, he's like, तुम्हारा हाथ अच्छा है, तुम एक बार NID में try कर लो. तो मैंने, and some of my friends in Delhi used to tell me, that the chicks in NID are very cool. Okay, and अच्छी जगह है, जाके देख लेना 1-2 महीने, फिर देखना क्या होता है. So that's frankly why I came to NID. But when I did the interview and this thing, Nayak knew my dad, and I think some of the faculty did know my dad because of the art connection, I guess. But I was very sort of, I think the best thing that worked out for me during the interview was I did have an art portfolio because I used to help my dad, and I used to do some. I took art and craft in school, and by default I had to make stuff. So I carried that, but then when I came to NID, I saw these crazy portfolios, and I was like, "यार ये तो होना नहीं है, वैसे भी मेरा interest नहीं है." So I was very casual in the interview, and I think that's the only thing that really helped me. I was being myself, and in fact, I told them that I hate art, and they pounced on me, and they're like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, the perspectives are so warped, and you're showing something that's far away so big, and all of that very. And surprisingly, I got in. I mean, and I remember the time I came into NID. This is the batch. This is an EP photograph of us. We'd gone to Vedchi for environmental perception. I think one of the coolest batches in the whole world. I think everyone feels that way, But yeah, I mean, I entered NID, and I remember the first time I entered NID, I saw the aquarium, and I saw Elias's truck model, and I saw some of Gullu's and Gullu's sketches. And as a kid, in the subjects I hated, I always drew cars. Okay, so I don't know, something, NID is a magical place, and I just somehow knew that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, And then I got a little worried that, what am I going to tell my parents now? Okay. So anyways, the results were coming later and things like that. So I thought, and then when I did get through engineering, I actually didn't tell Papa, and then I hid it for, and then that girls hostel ke niche wala phone, one day everyone's like, where's Baoni? Where's Baoni's parents are desperately trying to call him, and You know, I think so that happened, and Papa asked me, ki, तुम्हारे calls आ रहे हैं, college say you haven't replied to them. What are you not going? So I told him very like meekly, that Papa, I like NID, So he's like, Arey wah. So I told you, so it was like an anticlimax for me, but it was such a great moment. It's such a big relief that, so I think it was very serendipitous for me. I don't know. Sometimes I don't understand why these things, I sort of try to understand them now. But yeah, I mean, this was us. I think we were all there that time. It was an amazing time. I think what I learned most was that was me again trying to sport a beard, after which I never did, and
This is the,
old
which year was
character.
this? Which year was this?
What, no, 1996, 7, 8, I don't know. We were discussing some PDA, and I think, I don't know, Gullu. I have a very interesting picture of Gullu's, and this was Ayaz Basrai. I was trying to make him model for some raincoat, and Shwetab Chand Verma. And
looks
Amit
like a.
giving us some directions. I had shown Amit the raincoat I had done. And Amit, is that you? I think it's you, right?
That's Amit only.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
no,
think just his truck, your defense.
Please release these photos. I asked, we want to sort of make it public.
no, the one Aditi Dhar will have the biggest laughter. She's already laughing. I can hear her.
And here I sort of created some immortal friendships. I think, I think all of us at NID, we sort of feel for each other, and we've created this bond. Some of them just go further, deeper, I guess. But I think you sort of stick to these, friendships, and they live by you. And one such guy for me is Vasim. I think he spoke earlier, and I think all of you know him. And we just feel we don't really speak that much, but I think we are very we're always on the same page, and I think we're blessed that we have each other's back. Yeah, and some great times, and then this guy, in 2013 he was born, and so this is my family. This is everyone, and of course, I could put in all the pictures, the whole Lemon family, so it's
So,
that.
I mean, what happened at NID? I just want to still understand because that chapter, other than all the.
I was very clear. I wanted to do transportation. I wanted to do transportation, and I wanted to do transportation. Okay, I think everyone used to also tease me about it. Ari gaadi bana raha hai, gaadi bana raha hai. And for me, I don't know. I just I think I love vehicles. I've always loved vehicles. I don't know why, but yeah. So I did a lot of transportation, and but in the meanwhile, I think what I did most, other than doing, so I used to finish the coursework, but I used to love helping Mozi. I used to like whoever dip needed to go up, I would like to sort of, I would like to sort of, I like design as such. I liked everything about it. I liked what Shalini was doing, graphics, Mahindra Bhai, Manu Bhai, Setu. I remember once I was doing the Palki, and he told me something that I've never forgotten. He's like, limitations of the mind, never of technology. And that word stuck to me. That sort of stuck to me, and it sort of really helped me. It helped me even today. So these are some of these things that I learned at NID. But largely, I was hell bent on being just a product designer. And I think when you do product design or transportation, you get into the graphics of it, you get into the textile of it, you get into the everything of it. And I think that's why I sort of liked transportation. It was very holistic. It was a moving object. It was a stationary object. It was an interior. It was an exterior. It was everything. It was sculpture. So I think a very unique object, and it sort of still fascinates me. Mobility. But of course, I went and did my diploma project at Telco. But at that time, sort of many things happened for which. I think Lemon Design started.
Did we go looking for projects before your this thing, or So there was this time, remember during when me, you, everybody was living outside NID, and me, Amit Sinha, and Baoni and Shalini decided to combine the portfolios, make one portfolio, and go and walk every street, every shop on CG Road, and asking them, okay, give us some work. जो भी काम दे दोगे हम करेंगे. So I think we picked up worth something like 13, 14,000, 15,000 rupees work in one day's time. In those days, it was quite a big amount of money. We literally walked every shop, no? You did some branding for somebody.
Actually, it was very interesting, that experience. We were living in the hostel. Fortunately, we got sort of permission, and I think there were 4-5 of us, and we were karta, no money. Okay, and we'd come down to the bare bones, and then we said one day that yaar portfolio leke, let's go down CG Road. So we took the auto ka jitna paisa tha, and we went to the end of this thing. Amit Sinha and Anuj, we said go to the right. Shalini and I went to the left, and we went to the first देखा सेकंड शॉप तक. वैसे हम लोग वो जो म्यूनिसिपल मार्केट है ना, उधर तक पहुंचे, फिर हमको काम मिल गया था. तो it was a very interesting experience. I think it gave us a lot of confidence and sort of freedom, and plus I always was hesitant about asking dad for money, and that sort of it sort of, I think, yeah, that's where that sort of enterprising thing started, where you knew that you weren't really, I think NID gave you enough to sort of be on your own. I think your seniors, your faculty, I think, JAP, everyone, my whole product design faculty, I think all the faculty, it was such a beautiful place where you sort of could just walk into anyone's cabin and sort of do anything.
Where
and they didn't restrict you,
Where did you spend most of your time at NID, Bhavan?
Old canteen and main gate.
Old canteen. Right.
I was sitting there, and I think I used to just keep sketching. There was, and yeah, I think that's old canteen and main gate was the main place I spent my time. And then in the evenings, basketball court, I guess.
Were you ever jealous of Rahul Datta's painting drawings?
Oh man, more inspired. I think I was fanboys for all these guys. Jealous to kabhi nahi. Foley, Bulu, Bose, everywhere. Yeah, Sandeep, Pillai. I mean, every discipline. The guys were like amazing. Taiya and like graphics mein kuch ho raha hai, film mein kuch ho raha hai, everywhere, animation, everywhere. In fact, my first couple of years, I was very out of place. In fact, I was even told by Dhiman that I think you better, I think you're going on your way out. Because मेरे को beginning में जमता नहीं था ये composition क्या बोल रहे हैं, harmony बोले तो simple harmonic motion होता है भाई. So it was very physics for me, but just sort of breaking away from that. And I think that's where I think my mom, she's the most open-minded person I've never known. I think she's just like crazy. She accepts everything. She's just so, progressive. And I think that's where I think my dad, of course, but I think my mom's really allowed me to be brave.
So what are the brave decisions have you taken so far?
I don't think I've taken any brave decisions. I've taken spontaneous decisions without thinking too much. In the sense, once I got out of NID, I sort of transportation, there was a job offer, sort of an internship that actually, there's a guy who'd come to meet Vikas, and he was visiting NID, and he was a transportation guy from Pininfarina. And he said, once you're done with your thing, why don't you, send me a mail and send me a letter. But incidentally, what happened is after I was during my diploma project at NID, my dad, he sort of started getting a lot of arthritis, and he got a little disturbed because he couldn't paint, So I decided to stay back in Pune, and I think that's what happened with Lemon. We even weren't called Lemon earlier. We were called Design Asylum. And then we went to the registrar, and they rejected the name. And then I sat there and I filled the form quickly, and this name came.
Last minute में सबसे नींबू याद.
हाँ? मेरे भाई ने डरा दिया था मुझे कि तुमको tax वैक्स. So actually, incidentally, once that happened, one friend of mine, he was making films in Bombay, and he said, "Tu poster banayega iska mere film ka." And that's how I think Lemon started. I went and met him, and I knew Photoshop. All thanks to Ranjan, he'd given me the keys to the computer lab, the new Apple lab, and I was a software geek that time. I used to love software. I used to, so, and yeah, so I think that's where I sort of did the poster. They liked it. And then I think, somebody else gave us some projects, and that's how it started really, and I think we were lucky. And I think a few years down the line, Wasim graduated and he'd come to Pune. And, like you guys always did. And when he was leaving, I asked him, ki, kya karne wala hai tu? So he's like, कुछ नहीं, पता नहीं, सोचा नहीं. I said, जो भी करना है इधर ही करते हैं, साथ में मिल के करते हैं, And ever since, I think, साथ में ही मिल के कर रहे हैं. He has my back. I try to have his back, and we let each other be, and whenever we need each other, we're there for each other. And he's sort of crazy about spaces. I'm crazy about spaces. He's crazy about holistic design. Because I think we realized that we want to work in a place where we want to work. And NID was the biggest influence. I think the way that work culture is or was, and I think that's what we wanted to.
What basis did you pick Pune of all the places?
I was in Pune, and believe me, Darjeeling that time wasn't a viable option. Delhi was not possible, UP. And Pune was like hills closest to Darjeeling were there. You could get out anytime. The weather was pretty nice that time. And I was there doing my diploma project, and I didn't know a soul actually. So then I reached out to my OPA, my Old Paulites Association, and somebody graciously called me for dinner. And after that, for a couple of weeks, I was having dinner at their place. Then I called my parents over and I said, I've got a house. I didn't tell them that, so then, ever since my mom keeps telling me, yaar, job dhoond lo. Kya kar rahe ho? Khud kyun kar rahe ho? Itni ye, wo, ye, wo. So even now she's telling me, job dhoond lo. So yeah. So never really thought about it.
So then Lemon happened. Now, Lemon is not what you had imagined. Was this your plan, or is this what unfolded?
In fact, it was 2-3 of us, and then some more people came, and before you realized it, I think we were very passionate about whatever we did. And when we worked for a client, he came back to us because we sort of, we were always into systems, I think. We thought of design as a system. So वो brochure design मांगता था, हम उसके लिए system बना के दे देते थे. फिर वो बोलता था, अच्छा लोगो भी change कर दो. तो ऐसे काम हुआ है. And then कोई बोलता था exhibition कर दो, कोई बोलता था wedding का card बना दो, कोई बोलता था ये, कोई suddenly annual reports दे देते थे. Then we got into websites because I loved coding. I love doing code and stuff like that in school. So I got into web design and I started coding in Flash, and that sort of really gave us a big break. We did some really cool websites in Flash and got to do some very interesting projects with Susmita actually. She was doing something with the space agency in Europe, and we got to work with Arthur C. Clarke and Morgan Freeman, and and that sort of really gave us confidence. And then we sort of, my brothers also so my brother's always wanting to shift me to Delhi. He's like, together we can do some really cool stuff. So he used to introduce me to people, who were doing some interesting work, very cutting edge tech work. So I was interested in that as well. So we did HindustanTimes.com at that point. And it was a very crazy project because it came to us because the earlier agency had screwed up, and we had 1 month to make the presentation. And one of my brother's friend knew that I do design. So he came to Pune and he's like, kuch karke de do. So I made a quick masthead and showed it to him, and he was very impressed, and his editor and everyone were like, wow, kya hai? And I frankly didn't know what I did. मतलब जो आया वो कर दिया चुपचाप. But then they gave us all the whole website design, which was, I think, a big break for us, to do Hindustan Times. Then we did Airtel's internal complete My Airtel branding, you know. So like that, I think God's been very kind. People have sort of liked our work, and I know Wasim and I, we just put our heads down and we work. We love our work. It's not really work, it's the way we live our life. So uh, just to sort of give you guys a glimpse of some of the stuff we've done. Book My Show was a project that came to us. They came, and it was quite an interesting project because I think we saw it as a sort of good break into the mainstream, to do something like this. And we designed we started with the identity, but we actually helped build their own whole UI UX, um, for the mobile and for the desktop. Then this was a very interesting project. And around actually at that time, a lot of questions began to emerge in my head about my contribution to this whole consumerism, capitalism. As a designer, what are we really doing? Aren't we sort of doing the same thing that we sort of hate? And but I sort of had a hunch that we can do this in a way where it is not creating disparity, but actually reducing disparity. And we sort of devised our own design process, learning over time. And I started teaching at NID as well at that time. With Shimul, we sort of I played. I mean, I was involved with her in some small bits in the LAD discipline, and then I think I've been involved ever since. But I think when this happened, actually, because when students started applying to Lemon, I realized that the value systems are very different, and uh, it's not the student's fault. There is a lot of uh, gaps now in education. I think there are a lot of time that you don't get to sort of immerse yourself in projects, ideas. And I think that sort of changes the values and why you do things. And I got sort of keen on why, and this is a very interesting brand because we help them sort of really bring in prosperity and value into the neighboring villages and things like that. And I realized that economics doesn't need to be lopsided, and it can create value for society as well as the environment. you know and we devised this system called the Dive, where we immerse the client into this process. And this was an outcome of it which helped us sort of transform this B2B white label tea manufacturer into this sort of a brand. And this is a whole range of teas we developed with them, right from the flavors to the packaging, you know uh, the caddies, for loose leaf. And it was a very interesting project, and it sort of really found a foothold because they created employment for 200 of the women around that village in Coimbatore. Plus, they created a forest out there, which is a 20-acre forest out there. So there is a way to do business responsibly, is where we started immersing ourselves in. And then we sort of started doing a lot of projects which sort of make sure that we're sort of being more responsible and sustainable in even because I think clients are open in general. I think it's designers, we need to feed them ideas that sort of allow the trilogy to win, and not just economics, but also society and environment are the winners. So we got into that mode. Okay. Then we also did some really crazy projects like Dulali, where we sort of created this was India's first microbrewery. And then we rebranded them, and they went into a community. So they wanted to create a community beer chain, beer tap room sort of system, where there's a lot of conversation, there's a lot of this thing. So all we did is build their furniture, did no design really, just kept it empty, put softboards where community can come and share. uh, you know uh, and this sort of was a very interesting project. And then I sort of finally worked with my brother, did a solar light again. So just a span of work, because there's a lot of projects. I obviously can't show you a lot of it, but just to give you a sense that our
This,
team.
this I remember very well because I have one of these
This was very
it
interesting.
moved. And yeah, what was the project? Full.
So my brother actually developed this chip, which was he said is the world's most efficient chip, and then obviously we went to finally get the patent on it and stuff like that. So he came to me and he said, "What can we do with this chip? It's a charging system." It's he gave me some and I said, and as a kid, I grew up with no lights. There were never lights in Darjeeling. There was always power cuts. So we grew up with kerosene lamps and candles and stuff like that. And really, kerosene lamp studying not a good idea. Your eyes burn, and I realized that millions and millions of people are still doing that. And so I thought, why not create a tool of light? Which sort of so that was the sort of philosophy behind that. We got funding for this company. We built this product. It did fairly well, but it sort of we lost the plot somewhere. We sort of it's a different story altogether where I think we got bought over and then finally we're out of the company and stuff like that. But yeah, this was a very exciting project because I think the idea was to do a solar light, but then what I realized is why not do a multi-purpose one that can serve all the purposes for light, and we designed this and I think it turned out quite nice. I mean, so yeah, and
It was
then
also way back it was way back, but good 12, 13
2009.
years. Yeah, 12 years back at least. Yeah. So then from that point of view, it's a very good product because also not much had happened in this field.
Yeah, in fact, we did do a lot of inroads into creating government policy and, excise exemption. And we were one of the first few. So we got a lot of the brunt. And I think that's what ran us out of gas, really, But I think it turned out net. I think it was a very satisfying project because I still have friends who go up to Ladakh, spot this and say like, dude, look at this, what I found, so yeah, I mean, I see. I'm a product designer, and I've always wanted to do product design. But I feel that I want to do product design that sort of I'm not just creating another sort of incremental product. This was one of them. Now I've learned a lot more, and I think this is over designed. But that's a different story. This is 10, 12 years back. But yeah, I mean, it was fun because it did work for us a lot. We built a lot of modularity into it and it got accepted. And the funny thing is, everyone told us that this is not a rural product, but I think the rural accepted it. It looked pretty fine to them. So it busted a lot of myths about what is rural sensibilities of aesthetics and product. And yeah, I think so. Yeah. And then on the other side, we are a lot into sort of serious product design and UI UX design. So we working with this company in Kerala, where we're doing health information systems for hospitals, and we've been working with them for the last 15 years now, and that's another very sort of place close to my heart. I've always loved tech, and I sort of love working in this space as well, and so, and then, this is a predictive security cam interface, that we're doing for a Singapore-based company, which, according to it, with this technology, you could have predicted something like 9/11 from happening. And, so, I like working in this space as well. There's another sort of passion project.
It's type चोर को पता ही नहीं उससे पहले उसको बता दो आप चोर बनने वाले हो types.
नहीं वो Minority Report जैसा नहीं है. This is, it's sort of it's a caution and an alarm system, because imagine if a building has 100, 200 CCTV cameras, which one do you look at? So it's sort of an intelligent system, and sort of visualizing it. I love science fiction. I think you guys know that. So, this is me sort of trying to be that. So so my interests are very varied, but I think what's happened in the last 4-5 years is sort of transformative, because I think as I traveled, I realized that the kind of products we're creating, I started questioning whether we really need them, and I started interacting with a lot of communities. So just to give you guys this thing, for 2017, this is why actually I'm here in Nagar. I'm working with some of the hemp and wool weavers and the knitters here, and we're trying to. So I think as a designer, I want to intervene very little, and I want to see what difference we can make there. And we're building houses completely in tribal ways with them, in their own techniques, so that they don't have to buy plastic houses and plastic chairs. You know, and then we're just having a lot of fun. So this is some in Meghalaya. In Kutch also, we're trying to work with craftsmen and trying to give them different ideas. So I think as a designer, I like contributing now in all spaces, and I think I love tech. I love this kind of work, and I'm trying to find a sort of a way to meld them all. This is in Himachal, where we're working with hemp and wool. It's sort of, I think it's sort of my calling, because I grew up in a place like Darjeeling, and I think I like nature, and I like the fact, and I really believe that development and urbanization have been made synonymous, whereas they're not really synonymous. You know, and I think what I'm trying to sort of do is also sort of see if we can create value which is more holistic with the communities, help them create better product, more contemporary product. And I think a whole bunch of us are doing that. I'm also trying to do the same thing, really. you know
So
um,
this is your part, which is what you call humane design. So you've been
this is
Bhavani
the
has been yeah, Bhavani has been talking to me for a long time. Also went to Meghalaya with him to do the bamboo structures, and so the kind of work that you're doing now is more to do with people, and more people centric, and not product centric. Of course, products are being made along with it, but the focus is people. So,
yeah, absolutely. I
uh,
think
so,
it's all.
where you seeing yourself working in the future? Like it's just like a beginning of it, no? But do you see yourself working a lot more here, or of course you have a variety of things happening, but your calling is this, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I actually I sort of have got down to the basics, really. For me, it's uh, and I think that's what's exciting me right now. Minimalism and sort of dematerializing things. And sort of creating value for people, with people. Collaborate with them, and sort of contribute my two bits to what they already know so well. And perhaps see whether we can. So it's a thought experiment. I don't know where I'm going with it, very frankly, but I'm liking this sort of thing. I like the tribals in Meghalaya, Northeast Nagaland. You get to hear such crazy stories. So I boiled it down to roti, kapda, and makan, and I'm working in that space. I'm working a lot with farmers, sort of we're trying out different techniques of growing food, different kinds of foods. I think foods become very monotonous, and I think there's so much variety every region, every. So what's exciting me lately is the nativeness and indigenousness of regions, the diversity of people, their ideas, and sort of cross-pollinating that, and sort of helping them connect. And that's what the Humane Project is really about. Where we're trying to help somebody in Northeast who has bamboo, but he doesn't have hemp. He doesn't have this, he doesn't have that, and that's what we're trying to do, really. I've got a great bunch of partners. Anuj is being very kind, and he's been always for me, he's always been a part of this project, always my bouncing board. I think Sajid, I've sort of at times on and off discussed it with him as well. But yeah, largely I've been sort of I get sort of immersed in these places, which is why I want to apologize to you guys also. I sort of get lost in WhatsApp and things like that, so I'm not very active there. But I still try and catch up. But yeah, I mean, this is where most of my time goes. I love sort of being disconnected in that sense.
Tell a little more about other projects that you're not telling us about.
I actually haven't put it in the presentation, but I've been working on. So, in my heart of hearts, I'm a transportation guy. Okay, so we've been working for the last 5 years on a electric vehicle. Let me see. what I can show you.
Why weren't you showing in the first place?
I was a little sort of, I don't know. I thought I would
Gullu
have
is
nice.
here. Baoni is cat because of Gullu is here.
Please, I can't be saying
Baoni has been nervous about this presentation, and all his seniors, beloved seniors, are there. They're going to judge him, and we all have to give him marks also at the end of it.
I have written my marks down already.
Privately, we have to send him.
Just a second, guys.
We can't give him marks. We have to give him grades.
Great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Gullu got the technicality there.
Be positive.
We can just say it was all great.
Wow, Gullu, tu to fatta bhi start.
So 1 second.
But Baoni, if you were the court painter, what would you look like? I would just like to imagine you as like a nice, you also walking into the courts and doing like maza aata tha.
He looked like a Ravi Verma painting with that see-through blouse. Like Ayaz's raincoat.
See, look, only person who's laughing here is Aditi. She enjoys.
Aditi just came for that.
I only came for the last track. That's all I'm here for.
Minus 3 points for the time he's taken for this slide.
Slide. Yeah. This he's
I
now.
never intended to show it, so you have to cancel that -3. It was on. So yeah.
You'll open that and share that. This one you'll have to stop share.
Oh, sorry.
Baoni can talk meanwhile, so it's not necessary.
Yeah, I mean, this project right now it's obviously on hold, but it's a passion project, and I've been working on this electric vehicle. It's a small team actually, 4 or 5 of us, and we built this together. How do I go back to that interface, man?
Yes.
Okay.
On where are you stuck? Now you can share screen.
Can you guys see? That's our first steps. Can you guys see it?
Yeah, I can see.
It really does look futuristic, Baoni.
Yeah, so this is a sort of passion project that I've been working on. So this was the test drive, which sort of one like crazy moment. But yeah, I mean, what do I? So yeah, this is. I'm done.
It's okay, Baoni. एक तो फोटो दिखा दे. हाँ.
फोटो दिखाना है.
हाँ दिखा दे, मतलब थोड़ा विजुअल डिजाइनर्स को दिख जाएगा अच्छे से. Visually अगर नहीं है तो, but it's okay. But so what is it that you, मतलब you don't want to reveal anything? Is it that कुछ तो बताएगा ना, मतलब अपने दोस्तों को?
Nothing like that. I never planned to sort of show it.
I think Anuj, get into what's next.
So yeah, I mean, some screenshots. Are you guys being able to see it? My screen?
Yeah, we can see the screen, but nothing's happening there.
Let it load. Oh,
okay. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, so this is some quick views.
Are you seeing yourself or हमको भी दिखा रहा है कुछ ऐसे ही खुश हो रहा है?
मैं दिखा रहा हूँ ना? कि नहीं दिख रहा है?
कुछ नहीं दिख रहा है. You stop share and share the screen that now you share. Bhavani, you've been saying that you. See.
दिख रहा है?
Nice. बहुत खतरनाक दिख रहा है.
So these are some views. We're doing a clay model, and I think there's already a sort of life-size model also happening. There's some, I know. This is the logo for it.
What is it called? ऐसा कुछ नाम वाम है?
We've got the company Elytra. We haven't yet named the product, the sort of car. Some like, yeah, this is
Good. Thank you for sharing.
Long time.
Okay, so I think Baoni, you through with your presentation. You want to share something else? You want to say something about anything else about your life right now? How you enjoying the weather?
Yeah, the weather is patchy but nice. No, I mean, what do I say? That's my little.
तूने timing करवा के भिजवाया क्या?
नहीं, suddenly.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi there. I'm going to add Amit on spotlight. So Gulu, as for you, I'm going to get Amit to do the vote of thanks today. As he's had a lot of influence for you, I'm going to now get Amit Gulati on the spotlight. Amit, over to you.
Thanks, Ajit, and thank you so much, Baoni. I was really looking forward to this. Won't have missed it for the world. And I don't think it's one person influencing the other. I think we were at the time where we probably ended up influencing each other. And, I think Baoni really represents the quintessential Eneidian of our era. Somebody who's super enthusiastic, somebody who has a vast diversity of interests. I think even the work he's doing now sort of reflects that element of humanity. I mean, I was not aware about all the community work he was doing, but the thing that always stands out is that, every now and then, whenever he was in Delhi, he would ring up and always look for opportunities where we could potentially collaborate. So I don't have any regrets, but I think we still have to find that one project where we partner something as a team. He's been trying very hard to do that, and so have I, but I think that's one element of our journey that needs to still sort of converge at some point. But, I think the other important thing about that era of design firms that started around that time was also looking at the long term. A lot of folks who start up design consulting firms, architectural firms these days, they have a very short horizon. They think that it will just be 2-3 years and they'll hit success and so on. Like there's a saying that it takes 20 years to become an overnight sensation. And I think Baoni kind of reflects that element of thinking long and, constantly being willing to change. And with every stage of life, whatever you're going through, it starts reflecting in the work that you do. So fantastic, Baoni. I got the chance to see a lot of other things which I hadn't. And thank you so much for putting it all in one place. And that electric car of yours, it's just mind-blowing. I just really want to see what it's all about in more detail. I think you've been keeping it under wraps. But
no, in fact, I did want to discuss it with you, that I want to show it to you. And
but I wasn't aware at what stage it's reached, and it's quite dramatic. So looking forward to that space.
I have a question. Baoni,
yes.
I want to know where you are right now.
Oh, I'm here. 1 second, let me show you. I'm right here.
I want to see the scenery behind. Oh.
The scenery behind him is our other friend.
Yeah, I believe he's in the next room. Is he? Or is he in the
he's in the next room.
balcony?
But yeah, this is where I am.
Spectacular.
So this is in Himachal. So you're
this
in
is Nagar.
Somewhere,
right? Nagar. This is in Nagar. It's between Kullu and Manali.
Wow. It looks amazing, and the weather must be really.
So it was raining it was sunny in the morning, then raining quite heavily. Then it was sunny just when we started, and now it's about to rain.
So you've been
But
you've
yeah,
been staying there for a bit. You've been working out of there.
I'm now going to be here for some time. I came here a month back, but I've been
Okay.
visiting Himachal very often. So, it's just some things that have sort of come up that it's allowed me to be here. I'm working with these hemp and wool
Yeah.
communities. So I happen to be here, and then the lockdown, and then anyways, some people from my team have moved here. So we've taken
Nice.
up a place.
I'm going to just take off the live on YouTube. Just hold on 1 second. Goodbye, guys. Baoni, you want to give flying kiss to the YouTube people?
Yes, yes.